शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवो
Namaste. Jai Shivai. Let's talk about a rather controversial topic and terms today, regarding which these days even Westerners come and ask, and because even they are confused. Indians are confused, and people from India and all the continent are confused. That part is there, but even the Westerners are getting confused about what that is, even though some of the confusion was initially started in Western places, not by the current people, the people living today, but maybe their ancestors started that. Let's say that, say like that, okay? And so these terms are like Hindu, Hinduism, and Hindutva. Okay, so Hindu, the term Hindu is originally was called as Sindhu. Okay, and it started with the Sindhu river that flows all the way in top in Himalayas and all the today's Pakistan, Afghanistan area and all those areas, all the way in the top. So that from that to the Sindhu, that is the Sindhu river, and from the Sagara, the Indian Ocean, all that region was called as Sindhu. Some of the Westerners, those who were writing some history or some geographical descriptions in 1800s, actually called it Indus Valley. Okay. So they didn't use the term Sindhu or Hindu. It became Indus Valley. So they call it that. So it's a civilizational. Being Hindu is a civilizational identity. That is the first thing to understand. Civilizational identity means, if you look at the maps, old atlas maps from 1600, from 1700s, you will see how big the India was, the country India was. All these countries that you see today, in the maps of after post 1940, 1947 maps that you see, that they have countries like Nepal, Bhutan, Burma, and even Indonesia was part of the same continent, same country, India, and all the way till Afghanistan, Pakistan. And if you look at a very old map of like 1000 BCE and 1200 AD, 1000 and 1200 AD maps, if you look at them, then you will even see that Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and even the lower part of Russia. So India extended all the way there as well. And in earlier times, and on the other side, it was extended all the way till Iran and Iraq, where you see Iran and Iraq today. So it was that large, and it's called Jambu Dvipa. And we have all kinds of geographical descriptions of Jambu Dvipa in our, Ramayana and Mahabharata. All these regions are very well mentioned with their geography and rivers and all kind of things, which are easily identifiable today because of the archaeological excavations that have happened, and because of the satellites that go through, and they can look inside the earth and inside the mountains and see what kind of river channels or paleo channels were there and what existed. Saraswati river existed, this existed, that existed. So anybody and everybody who lived in this Jambu Dvipa, in this Sindhu region, from Sindhu to Sagara to the Indian Ocean, anybody from top to bottom, left to right, anybody who lived there is called as Hindu. That's the civilizational identity. Okay. Then this Hindu is also about a cultural identity. Culture changes. in every 200 kilometers, still today in India, and all these civilizationally connected places. So I'm talking about Bhutan, Myanmar, Tibet, and Indonesia, and Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan today look very different, but there was a time when there was a cultural similarities, yet cultural differences here and there. Language is a part of culture. Language is not at all a part of religion. Okay, you cannot identify a religion or connect a religion with the language. No, sorry. Any Islamic person, any Islamic religion person, if they are living in the they are living in the West Bengal region or today's Bangladesh, they are living there, they're not speaking Arabic or Urdu, they're speaking Bengali as a language. So language has no connect, no nothing to do with religion in the first place, but language is a part of culture. So language and dialect changes. So these all these countries that we see, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even all the way to Persia, which is Iran today. Okay, all these countries, all these places, they were all the civilization of Hindu, being Hindu, and cultural identity. So this is a being Hindu is a civilizational identity plus a cultural identity. Now let's mix the third thing. It's a religious identity as well. Now when we say religious identities, very strictly we would like to adhere to the religion that existed in the entire civilizational geography of Hindus. We are talking about only those religions which existed originally there and were not forced upon by the colonizers, by the looters, perpetrators, invaders of those areas. We are only talking about those religions. And which were those religions? Sanatana Dharma. So in our last videos, we did talk about what is Dharma, right? So that's what Dharma is. 7 principles, the set of values that sustain life. That is, and when you mix the aspect of that you yourself, your Atma or Atman is eternal, Brahman is eternal, the consciousness that you are is an eternal. So when you uh, add the eternal aspect to those 7 principles, to the Dharma principles, it's called as Sanatana Dharma. Okay, so this Sanatana Dharma was the original Dharma of the Sindhu or the Hindu or the Indus Valley civilization people. How then it became little bit different sects, different faith came out of it. The Sikhism came out of it, the religion of Sikh. Okay, Jainism came out of it, Buddhism came out of it. So many different religion things came out of it. Small bifurcations, and so still primarily they were still following one base, underlying base of dharma, all of them. Till today they follow the exactly same template of dharma. Some may have some extra principles to follow, some may have little less principles to follow, but basically the core architecture of dharma remains the same. Core architecture of dharma is there in all the Sanatana Dharma religions. That is what a Hindu is. So then came the Christianity and Islam as the religion of perpetrators. Right? How the people were converted into Islam? In the Sindhu Valley, in the Indus Valley, in the Hindu civilizational area, we all know that. Height of barbarism. Rapes of women, forceful marriage with them. That is how Hindus, the next person being born to them was called as Islamic person. How did Christianity invaded India through missionaries, through East India Company. Later on, when it was handed over, the power was handed over from British East India Company to the actual crown, to the Queen, and to the British people. Actually, the political power was handed over to them, and that is when the country became colonized. Missionaries started, Christian missionaries started coming to them, and till today we know they have a whole huge business of converting people. Every now and then somebody even here in Australia will be at my door to knock and say to convert me into Islam. And they don't know that in Sanatana Dharma we don't convert anybody. Either you are a born Hindu or you are not. So now let's understand these three things, that it's such a complex identity, right? Being Hindu is an identity which is civilizational, 1/3 civilizational, 1/3 it's cultural, and then 1/3 it is religious. So for Hindu, this being Hindu, the religion comes last because dharma is there, right? We are all living peacefully, following dharma kind of people. So religious identity takes a backseat. But is there any other civilization that exists anywhere in the world? No. In some very, very small number of people or groups, some part of some old legacy or civilization may be existing. But do you see anywhere on this planet as of now billion people belonging to one civilization? Except India. No. And Sanskrit was their language, the civilizational language. It was part of that. So nowhere the civilizational identity exists. Yes, in some small groups you can say some people were Mayans or Inca people or Mayans people or Aztecs or Celts, but they are so small in number. Nowhere billion people are existing as one civilization anywhere on this planet. Nowhere. So and then cultural differences. People from north in India have a very different culture because depending upon the weather, the geography, and people in south have a very different culture, east have a very different culture, west have a very different culture. Culture keeps on changing in that entire geography. Every 200 kilometers, 100 kilometers, things change. And no doubt it's a very, very, very blessed place, extremely blessed geography that Indian civilization had and have, still have. It's a blessed geographical place. It's the only place you find seasons and weathers so much aligned, right? So it's a civilizational identity, and it's very hard for Westerners to understand that being Hindu could be a civilizational identity. It's very hard for them to understand because they were one of those people who destroyed it purposefully. So British colonized some 45 plus countries, French colonized so many countries, again not following dharma, and Spaniards colonized so many countries, and recently we see that China colonized Tibet. So many countries were being forcefully, and all kinds of tortures and things, butchery have happened and is still happening in so many countries and so many places. So when civilizations were purposefully destroyed, you will not understand. Today's generation find it very hard to understand what's that. What does that mean that people have civilizational identity? So being Hindu is a complex identity. It's made up of three parts: civilizational identity, cultural identity, and religious identity. And the religions that originally belong to the Indus Valley civilization. Those are the religions that we always adhere to. Why? Any religion that is forced upon you by torture, by rape, by butchery, or because you are fearful for your life, if that kind of, or that you needed money or something, or somebody converted you because you were trying to run away from something else, then definitely, That is not a religion. We don't even call it religion. Why? The dharma aspect is missing from those religion. Dharma says non-violence, ahimsa. Dharma says truth. Dharma says compassion. So all the 7 principles of dharma are non-existing from the way Abrahamic religions were imposed. And India gave long time ago, even before independence, 200 years ago or something like that, India gave asylum, political, economical, and all kind of freedom to people migrating, other religion people migrating to India. For example, Persians, Tibetans. And in India is the only place where you will find maximum number of Hindus, yet all the minorities are living happily, peacefully, even the tribes. India has 4,900 plus tribes, and these are the tribes who live either very high up in the Himalayas or they live somewhere in the dense forest of South India. Nobody is disturbing them. Nobody is going there to impose their religion or culture or education or anything at all. They live undisturbed. They are self-sustaining tribes. Until unless they come and ask government to support them for something, nobody goes there to support them. There is no need. And that is again something that it's very hard to understand for Western people. How can you not go and educate them? Why they do not have to learn ABCD? Why we are learning? We are having 8 hours of school. how can they just play around, fool around in the forest all the time, and why their education is not the as per our own perspective? Why they do not have to follow any religion? Why they should follow any? Otherwise, they are called as savages. They are called as tribal people. They are called as little less of human beings. That's the perspective of West completely. That if you do not have modern education, if you do not have modern facilities, and you're not living a modern life, or if you do not have a religion especially, then you are doomed. But no, in India, Western people try to, teach us a lot of diversity. But for diversity for them is something new. Diversity for us is an ancestral thing, civilizational thing. It has always existed. We are the most, diverse people. And in today's era, you can see that Hindus are the only people who will go to any country, who will go and migrate into any country, and without knowing the penal code of that country, without knowing a lot of laws from that country, will peacefully live there. Because they live according to the principles of Dharma. How many other migrant communities and societies are able to do that? So that is why it becomes very hard for a lot of Westerners, and even I have seen people from India do not understand that being Hindu is a very complex identity. It's a mixture of civilizational identity, it's a mixture of cultural identity and religious identity. Okay, and other than these three, there is another term that boggles people's mind a lot because it has somehow gained a political narrative, and it's called Hindutva. Now just dissect this word. Hindu Tattva is called as Hindutva. Now who is Hindu? Anybody who's living into this civilization, right? Anybody who has that culture which belong to these Indus Valley people, anyone who has the old religions identity, they are following those religions and are dharmic people in the first place. So Hindu Tattva So Hindu element, anybody who has Hindu element in them is called as that they are having Hindutva. But these days, a lot of people have given it, political narrative, that Hindutva is all about political narrative. And those who are trying to give it this lens of this color of political narrative, they are only looking at religious identities. Right? So some of the religions in the world, some countries in the world have never understood the cultural identity and civilizational identity aspect. They have only understood the religion aspect. So when they say Hinduism, for them it's a religion. They're only talking about the religion. So you divide the whole, take a piece out of it, and that's what you are calling as Hinduism. So just like Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Christianism, Islamism, all these ism words are invented. So you see, when they say Christianism, it's only about religious identity. There is no civilizational identity in that. Perhaps only for the people living in Vatican may have that kind of civilizational identity, which I still highly doubt. Why? Because Christ, Jesus Christ, who was that person actually? Israeli, Jew. So which Jesus Christ or Yeshua do you consider Israel as a civilization for Christianity? Or you call Vatican as a civilization for Christianity? Which one of them? So that truth, but it's for them to explore, it's for them to figure it out. Same for Islam. Prophet Muhammad, where was he born? So it's that country, that place, that thing are we talking about? Or when the other countries were invaded and perpetrated by, and the religion of Islam was purposefully forced, and Urdu was artificially created by using the Sanskrit and Hindi grammar. Invented language, as we call it. It happened in the Indus Valley. So yes, that language still belongs to the Hindu civilization, the Indus Valley civilization. So you see, when we say Hinduism, it's there. Other people, when they coin the term like that, they are only talking about the religious aspect of it. But at that time, they are keeping it, and they are thinking that it is in opposition with all the other religions. No, Hinduism is the only religion. Sanatana Dharma, or Hinduism originally, is the only religion where all the other religions exist peacefully, isn't it? Where do you see in other countries where all other religions are existing 100% in a peaceful way? Where they have all the cultural liberties, where they have all kinds of language related liberties? No, they're not existing anywhere else. So Hinduism is an abstraction of the identity Hindu. Okay, and Hindu element is nothing but anybody who belongs to this entire land mass that existed between Sindhu and Sagar, and entire land mass, left and right, from top to bottom, anybody who lived there as an element in it. When Westerners, or people those who belong to Islam, or people those who are Christians, when they start doing yoga, meditation, start walking their spiritual journey, start chanting the mantras, what are they actually becoming? What are they actually adopting by doing so? They are adopting the cultural identity. And when they start chanting mantras, start praying to Shakti, start doing Shakti sadhanas, Shakti practices, Shiva sadhanas, Shiva practices, and a lot of other such things, when they start doing that, they are actually subscribing to or living by the Hindu religion, Sanatana Dharma religion. That is what they start following. And a lot of them actually become more Hindu than the Hindus themselves. They can never adopt the civilizational identity because their ancestors, they were not born there, they were not, their ancestors were not living there, right? So what are they adopting? They are adopting only the cultural and religious identity to an extent. Only when they become really dharmic, we truly call them Hindu. Despite of their previous religion, race, gender, anything, they become truly Hindu because they are dharmic. They are dharmic here in their heart, in their anahata. So don't get confused about these terms. Politics come, politicians go, governments change, rules change. It has happened so many times in our civilization, in the Hindu civilization. And don't worry so much about these short-lived narratives and short-lived impositions on your civilizational, cultural, and religious identity. Don't It can't be attacked so easily. It cannot be broken so easily. Okay, because these days millions of Hindus and billion Hindus are living all around the world in all the countries that you can think of. You may not even know the names of the countries, that kind of countries. Hindus are living there. And what are they doing? They are living by the principles of their civilizational identity. They are carrying that. They are carrying the torch of dharma. They are living the cultural identity. Ask any Hindus who are not eating Indian food. Can they live without it? No, they cannot. And they are teaching, preaching festivals and things to even the Westerners. So that civilizational identity, cultural identity, and religious identity these days, since the ships and aeroplanes have happened, has gone beyond the boundary and geography of India. 1947 India. It has gone beyond that. So today, if we draw the map of Hindus around the world, including India, that it's a huge map consisting of Hindus living in all the countries peacefully, doing their duties towards oneself, duties towards their family, their society, and duties towards the nature and everything, and living peacefully there. So the map of Hindus and Hindu civilizations is very large. It's huge. Know that. So don't get disturbed by just these small short-lived identities of other people's way of thinking for you and trying to put you in a box, because they haven't seen such large things, such magnanimity. They haven't they haven't understood the enormity of the civilization that we are, the culture that we are. So it's very difficult to understand things for others. But as Hindus, as Indians, Indian Hindus, living in India, living abroad, or anywhere, don't get so much disturbed by all these things. And in your heart, you know very well that we carry Bharat, we carry Hinduism, we carry Hindutva, we carry being Hindu, the identity, civilizational identity of being Hindu, anywhere and everywhere in this whole earth is like that. Whole earth is our home, peaceful home, and we all have to live peacefully. Namaste. Jai Shiva.